Catus Maximus here. I've already done a video about the Porter cable, or excuse me, it's the PNC. Of course, I've been saying Porter cable so much that when I see PNC, I say that. It's the 3209 3/8 inch. This is known as open frame ratchet, although some really vintage ones don't even have this metal cover. Where on these PNCs, they do have a cover over the gear. They're really not that bad of ratchets. They're pretty reliable. And even though grit can more easily get in there, it's also pretty easy to clean out and allows to have a pretty compact head, and they are pretty reliable and pretty robust. The point of this video is that version 1 versus version 2, just like software versions, hand tools, power tools. Power tools usually are known as type 1s, type 2s, etc. Although depending on the manufacturer, such as Milwaukee, it just goes by serial number series. Anytime there's a revision, usually there's some way of tracking it. But when it comes to hand tools, it's just age. It's just at a certain point, they decide to change the design. And that's the most difficult thing and why I'm doing this, to document this. And it is hard to find when and what changes this happens, because these are both PNC 3209 ratchets. But as we can see, obviously the direction of the stamping is different on both of these. This is smaller and lighter and says USA, where this doesn't say USA. The older ones, what they did is the anvil, the gear in there was also broached, and so the anvil slid through, and we can see that the anvil will move independently of the gear. And then they had this little snap ring. So I made a video about how PNC made rebuildable open frame ratchets, which was pretty rare. Well, PNC even stopped doing that because that's extra effort. You have to broach this, you have that little ring that you have to put on, and we can see like a pretty sharp edge on the reverse knob is literally the ratchet pawl. You're just pushing the ratchet pawl from one side to the other. Interestingly enough, they've changed the design in a few ways on this newer one. One, if we look compared the ratchet pawls, we can see that this one, the corners are more rounded, so they improved that, so it's just a little bit smoother. Seems to have just a more definitive ratcheting action. As far as how much play the anvils themselves have, it's about the same. But we can see the front covers, we have about even tapers here, where on this one we have a deeper taper on this side than we do on the top side, which I thought was interesting. And then here's the other aspect, which is pretty obvious, is it's no longer well, I should say it is rebuildable, just not as easily. What they've done here, and I've tried tapping on it a little bit. I don't think there's a snap ring. I think it's simply that they had this anvil and it's now just a press fit through the gear. We can see that this portion is actually larger than this portion here. And I stand corrected. I didn't even notice that. I was just looking here. No, they moved the snap ring to the other side. So I guess this is still rebuildable, but they just changed the design. That's very interesting. I actually started out this whole video and I just had assumed by looking at the top that it was not rebuildable, but instead they just changed the side the snap ring went on to now be on the bottom and is riding against the frame of the ratchet. I don't know if this is quite as good a design, to tell you the truth. So still rebuildable. I stand corrected, and I don't want to re-record the video just to act like I was right the whole time anyway. But nonetheless, second revision, more rounded pawl, slightly different cover, and a different anvil design, which is held on by the front rather than the back. So kind of interesting when hand tools go through these types of revisions. The only way you really know about it is the day that you run into another one of the same model and then realize that they're actually not exactly the same tool. They've been changed. And so since it's so hard to really know about that, I figured I'd document it. Anyway, thanks for watching.